Hi guys, welcome to today's video. In today's video, we are going to continue building the coffee cafe mobile application we started building earlier on the channel. If you're interested in knowing what it looks like to design a mobile application from start to finish, I would recommend you follow up on this series as it's going to give you the fundamental knowledge you need to design UIs. So far, we've completed the onboarding screens, the registration screens, and also this home screen you're looking at right here. And if you've missed the previous videos, I'm going to put a link in the description so that you check them out to follow along. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell if you find any of these videos helpful. Now, without further ado, let's get right into today's video. And in today's video, we are basically going to be documenting the styles in terms of fonts and colors so that we have a predefined style guide to work with when building other pages. So before we start documenting the styles, I want to make sure our home screen is properly aligned in terms of the margin on the left and on the right parts of the screen. So to do that, I'm going to turn on the layout grid section here. I'm going to set it to a column grid, and I'm going to use a column count of 6, and I'm going to set the left and right margin to 15 pixels so that we can properly measure the space that we're going to use to keep our content aligned in the middle, just like you're seeing here. All right, so once you've achieved this and all contents are properly aligned to the middle, and once I have achieved that, I'm going to select the home screen and I'm going to turn off the visibility of the layout grid because typically I don't like to see it while I work. So we can start working on documenting our styles. I usually like to have gone a few screens into my designs before I tend to take notes or document the style guides in terms of fonts and color, especially when there are no predefined set of brand style guide, and then we tend to dive right into high fidelity designs. So in many situations like this, it's only when you've gone a few screens into the designs or you've designed some parts will you be able to tell which direction or what direction your designs are going in terms of the sizes of the fonts, right? So with this now, I have an idea of what it's going to look like, so I can have a document on how to go about other screens since I've already designed some of the screens. So but for a start, I'm going to start updating the colors. I'm going to change this orange color to a darker shade of brown. So I'm going to select all the components that uses this orange color, and I'm going to change it right here from the selection to this particular shade of brown here. And I think this is going to be our primary color. So I'm just going to draw out a box and I'm going to fill it with this brown color that we just selected. In order to add this brown color as a color style in our library and use it across all screen in our application that we are designing, we are going to be adding it to this little color styles panel that you can see right here. So I'm going to click on this plus here and I'm going to name this let's say primary color, because this is going to be our primary color for this project. I'm going to click on the create button, and as you can see, this color has been added to our styles library on the right. Then we can update it on all parts of the design. Now, in order to keep this consistent and make use of this color style we just created, I'm going to select all the components that we have so that I can change the shade of brown to the primary color we select. So I'm going to come to this selection page and I'm going to replace this brown with the primary color. And I'm also going to do that for all the screens we created. So I'm going to select the entire frame itself, and I'm going to come to these selection colors also, and I'm going to make sure this orange color is being replaced with the primary color, which is the brown primary color that we have in our color styles. Once I've done that, I'm going to make sure everything is perfect, and now we can continue working on our home screen. I'm going to start by making this top section here, this horizontal section, a horizontal scroll. And to do that, I'm just go ahead to add more cards to this horizontal scroll section here. So I'm going to click on one of these cards and I'm going to hit Ctrl D to duplicate one of it, and I'm going to replace the contents in one of the cards. So I'm going to pick a different variation of coffee, and I'm going to paste to replace it with the image that is in the duplicated card. I'm also going to drop the size so that it matches the sizes of other items in the card section. I'm going to hold Shift and Alt at the same time, and I'm going to click and reduce the size so that it's reduced all size equally. I'm then going to go ahead to change the name of the item to chocolate coffee and change the price a little bit just to create that variety on the section. I'm then going to select this newly created card and use the arrow right key to move it to the edge so that it's the last item on the list. Now I want to make this whole section scrollable. I'm going to select every single one of them. I'm going to make sure I'm selecting the parents frame, the one that encompasses all the frames in it. I'm going to make sure it's selected, and then going to right click and click on frame selection. So I'm going to put the entire frame in another frame. After doing this, the next thing you want to do is to reduce the size of this frame you just created. So I'm going to hold Command and click and drag in from the edge of this frame. Then select the inner auto layout frame and give it a left and right padding because the frame inside was an auto layout frame. Now we have a padding in front and at the back, and then I can now adjust this to start from the beginning of the main screen. Once I've achieved this, I'm just going to hold Command and increase the length of this parent frame a little bit, then click on this clip content right here. Once you've achieved something like this, if you're a little bit confused, you might want to watch my horizontal and vertical scroll video that I created. That is a lot more details so that you understand how it works. So I want to do the same thing for our vertical scroll. I want to make sure the contents are larger than the frame vertically. So I'm going to go ahead to just add more of these components here so that we can scroll on our page vertically. I'm then going to select the entire frame and increase it a little bit just so that we have the exact length that we want. Once I have this, I then want to select all of these items together and hit Shift A to create an auto layout on them. I'm going to give them a particular spacing between them, and now I can take this out of our main screen. I'm going to go ahead to return this frame to its actual size, which I believe is 812. So I'm going to take it to its actual height. I'm going to return it back to its actual height. Then I want to fit our bottom navigation bar back to where it belongs. So basically what we want to do is we want to bring this newly created sets of items, this long list of items here, back into its position. So you can see it's now in the frame, but then it's at the top of the layer, so it's covering the bottom navigation bar. I'm just going to quickly rename this section so that we can properly identify it in all the frames that we have in this particular screen. I'm going to quickly rename the section, and I'm going to also rename this bottom navigation bar so that I can identify these layers and properly arrange them. I'm going to quickly do that for all the sections on this home screen. Just as you can see, I'm going to change this to category tab. I'm also going to change this particular section where we have this horizontal scroll to recommended items or recommended section. And after this, the next thing I'm going to do is to rename this search field also. You really don't have to do this, but this can be really helpful, especially when you have a situation where you need to arrange all the sections in your screen in a particular order. I'm going to select both greetings and hit Shift A to create an auto layout on them. Then I'm going to rename the whole group section. So for this section, you can see that it's above all layers. I'm going to bring it to the bottom, and I'm going to select the bottom navigation bar and add a fill on it because as you can see, it's currently transparent. So I'm going to add a white fill on it, and that's just how we want it. Now you can see that obviously the items in our home screen are larger than the home screen frame itself, which is the concept of scrolling. And now we can go ahead to add a vertical scroll effect on this home screen. So I'm going to select the entire home screen. I'm going to switch to the prototype tab, and I'm going to click on this scrolling section here and give it a vertical scrolling. Once we do that, I'm also going to select this horizontal section we created earlier, and as you can see, the content in it is larger than the actual frame. So I'm going to select the actual frame, which is the parent frame, and I'm going to change the scrolling to horizontal scrolling. Now we have our horizontal scrolling and our vertical scrolling on our home screen. After completely setting up our scrolling effects, I want to be able to navigate to this page. So I'm going to switch to the prototype section and connect the wires from this sign-in dot to the home screen. I think I'm going to leave the transitions and animations just like that. And from here, we can click on our home screen and click on the play icon to view the prototype so that we can see what the home screen looks like. Okay, now we can scroll vertically, but as you can see here, the bottom navigation bar right here is also scrolling along with the page, and we don't want that. You can also see that the status bar at the top is scrolling along with the page, but our horizontal scroll is working perfectly. If you're confused about scrolling effects, I do have a detailed video on that, so please do check it out. But basically, you want to select the status bar and check this fixed position while scrolling here, and I'm going to set the constraints to top. That just fixes it at the top while you're scrolling. I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom navigation bar. I'm going to check the fixed position while scrolling, and for the constraints, I'm going to set it to bottom and center. I'm going to click on this bottom icon and the center. I'm going to go back to the status bar, and I'm going to check the center constraints also, so it's top and center. So I'm going to play the prototype and let's check this out to see how it works. This works perfectly, but the status bar is transparent. As you can see, items are visible behind the status bar. So I'm just going to add a fill to it also to make it not transparent. So after doing that, I think we have our home screen ready to fly, and we can start documenting our typographies up to this very moment. But as you can see below the items, I need a space. So back in our designs, first thing, I'm going to take note of the height of this bottom navigation bar, which at this point seems to be 80. I want to believe. So I want to add an additional 80 pixel space below this list of items here. So I'm going to come to this bottom spacing in this padded section, and I'm going to add 80 pixel so that when we scroll, we have an additional 80 pixel space just below, so that it doesn't stay behind the bottom navigation bar. I hope you guys really understand what I mean. But to show you guys in the prototype, once we scroll to the top, you can see now that the items get to the bottom. We can see the bottom parts of the last items rather than it hiding behind the bottom navigation bar. So I'm going to add a little more spacing to it. So I'm going to use like 100 pixel so that we have enough convenient spacing when the user have scrolled to the end of the page. So as you can see, this is what our screens are looking like right now. And we can scroll through the list of items on this section. And I think everything is looking pretty good. So we can document other colors that we've used and stuff like that. So for now, I think I'm just going to add up the secondary color. But first, I'm just going to reposition this rectangle here, or this square, where I'm using to select the colors. I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to change it to a very light shade of orange, similar to what I used in the background of this card section for the recommended and categories card section here. So I'm just going to take note of that color, and I'm going to make sure I add it to the styles, just like the way we did for the primary color. I'm going to name this secondary color and create style. Now we have two styles, which is the primary and secondary color. So the next thing here will typically be to look for the most common set of colors we've used across, which is obviously the shade of black that we're using for our text. As you can see, it's currently 0000. which I wouldn't prefer. I won't want to use the solid black color, which is the 000 for our text. So I'm going to create another square, and I'm going to give it a particular shade of black, which is 212121. And this is what we are going to be using for the text color. I'm going to add this to our style, our color styles, and I'm going to name it black color. You can, of course, name it what suits you best. So once I've named that, I'm going to click the create style button. Now we have a shade of black in our styles. I'm going to select all the components that uses black, and I'm going to replace this solid black color with our selected shade of black color. I'm going to do that for all the solid black colors in the components, and make sure they are using a single shade of black, which is the one that we added to our style library. So now we have all our shade of black updated in our components. We also want to update it in sections that are not components, like this particular recommended section here. I'm going to select the entire section. In short, I'm going to select the entire frame, which is the entire screen, and I'm going to replace every solid black or every instance of black with our selected choice of black, just to keep that particular black color consistent across the entire screens. And please don't get me wrong, it is really important you have your styles defined before you begin your project. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to be doing everything on the fly as we design. I'm going to duplicate this box again to add another variety of color, which is going to be another shade of gray. I noticed the gray color is another very common color we've used across our designs, so we'll need to have different shade of gray for different scenarios. I'm going to just select the first shade of gray, which is this one here, and I'm going to add it to the styles. I'm going to call it gray 800. You can use a naming convention that suits you. There's no particular reason why I choose to use this, but basically if I'm adding shades of colors, different shades of the same color, I like to give it a range of from 200 to like 800, depending on the thickness or the lightness of that shade of color, and it can happen in descending or ascending order. All this just comes from a place of understanding what you're doing and how your team works and the naming conventions that you use. So for this shade of gray, I'm just going to update it in the possible places that it's used, and I'm also going to create another duplicate and create a lighter shade of gray for places where a lighter shade of gray is used. So I'm going to pick this particular shade of gray, which seems to be almost the same as the background gray color, but I'm just going to go ahead to add it to our styles. Once we have this, I can see that in between our light shade of gray and the darker shade of gray, we can still have another shade of gray in the middle, which is not as dark and not as light. So I'm going to duplicate one of these boxes, and I'm going to give it another shade of gray, which is something that sits right in the middle. I think this works, and I'm going to put a figure between 800 and 400, which is 600. So I hope you guys are really understanding the direction that this is going. So I'm just quickly going to arrange these boxes. Now I think we are at a good place in terms of documenting our color styles, and we can start looking at our text styles and start documenting them. Now, to be able to start documenting our text styles, I'm just going to click on some of the main text on this home screen section and on our onboarding and sign-in screens to look at what their sizes look like. Here we have Lexent semi-bold with a 20 pixel size. I'm just going to duplicate this and write out its properties. Like, I'm just going to spell out its property. So this is going to be Legend semi bold, and it's going to be 20 pixel. So I'm just going to write that out while using that particular text property. I'm also going to try and hover on some of the other texts on the home screen, like this subtitle text for the greetings, which is Legend light, and I think it's 12 pixel, and also the title text for the recommended card, which is Legend light 14 pixel. So I'm going to take note of these two typography or these two fonts types, and I'm just going to put that on the board just like this, and I'm going to duplicate it, give the second style, which is Legend light 12 pixel. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm trying to extract the styles that I have used on the home screen and look at how I can merge all the styles together to use a consistent style pattern for the text. So I also noticed the recommended for you title section is 16 pixel. So I'm just going to update that. I'm going to add another line which is going to be 16 pixel. So basically from here I've identified a header text of 20 pixel, Legend 20 pixel. I've also identified a large body text of 16 pixel, and a regular or normal body text of 14 pixel, and a small body text of 12 pixel. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a variety of these sizes. And what I mean is, for let's say the large body text, which is 16 pixel, I want to have the semi-bold version, the medium version, the regular, and the light version, both for the 16 pixel, the 14 pixel, and the 12 pixel, so that in case we need to use any font weight out of these particular sizes, we could easily have them to use. So I'm just going to go ahead and update this particular four fonts that I have identified, which is the 20 pixel for headers, which we use for the greetings, the 16 pixel for large body text, the 14 pixel for the regular, and the 12 pixel for small. So I'm quickly going to speed up the video up to the point where I've gotten all those variety of font size properly aligned on the board. Now I'm done creating the sets of font type that we used. Just as you can see, the way I explained, we have different shades of each sizes. So I'm going to select all of this typography and I'm going to frame the entire selection. I'm also going to increase the frame size by holding command and dragging the edges to increase the frame size. Now we have a set of typography that we can start with. This can obviously scale, we can add and remove from it, but at least we have something to start with. I'm going to fill the background with this white fill here, and for now, this is good. I'm going to just push the contents down a little so that I can give this particular frame a title, which is obviously our typography. And at this point, I basically just want to set up this whole environment to look a lot more presentable and to be able to label everything properly. I'm going to speed up the video up to the point where we get to start adding our text styles to our library, and we start using these text styles in our designs. We get to update the current ones and we get to build other screens with this set of defined typography. Now, after this initial setup, I noticed we only have one text style for the header, which is the header semi-bold 20 pixel. But I noticed we have a header in our onboarding screen component, which is this one right here, and it seems to be 26 pixel semi-bold. We also have a header in our login and sign in screens, which is this sign up you're seeing here, which seems to be 24 pixel semi-bold, and we also have a header in our home screen title. So I want to make sure I cater for all three scenarios, and if any situation comes where we need to have another header, we can pick from either of these sizes. So I would want to add those sizes to our typography. So I'm going to extend this frame and I'm going to push other contents down so that I can have enough head space at the top to add other sizes of the headers we just identified. So typically this is how you go ahead to identify the typography you've used in your designs and try to create a typography style for them. That is if you don't have them defined before the project and you've gone a couple screens before you want to start using your styles. So this is a really good way to identify what is needed and what should be done. And after we've properly documented and named the styles we are going to be using, the next thing we are going to do is to add these particular styles to our style library so that we can use it across all the designs we are going to be working with. So to do that, first I'm just going to properly name this up. I'm going to make sure I'm using the exact size that we want, which is the 26 pixel, the 24 and the 22 pixel. Now we can start adding our styles to the library. To do that, you're just going to select a particular style and click on this icon right here and click on the plus icon. But before I do that, I'm going to copy this exact naming convention that I used here in the typography. Click on the plus again and paste it to create a style. Once I do that, we've added the header style. I'm going to do the same thing for the next. I'm going to click on the icon, click on the plus and paste in the exact naming convention because I want to make sure it follows a consistent naming convention. Yours could be different, but you want to make sure it's something that is very understandable. If you're designing and you have more than one person on your team, you want to make sure the naming convention is something every other person could relate with, or something that every other person could see and easily understand what it is. So I'm just going to go ahead to add every single one of these styles to our style library. I'm going to continue doing this until I am done adding every single one of these styles. After adding every single one of these textiles, you can see on the right panel here, we have all our textiles listed accordingly. And this is really important in case you want to scale your designs. You can easily make changes that takes effect across all the pages and things like that. So from here, we can then start updating what we have on our designs with these textiles that we've created. Now we want to make sure we update all these texts on our designs to use the text styles we just created. So starting with this header text in this component here, I'm going to select the appropriate header text, which is the 26 pixel, and I'm also going to click on the subtext, and I'm going to click on this icon here and search for the subtext that perfectly fits that particular position. I want to believe it's a body text of 14 pixel. And these decisions could vary based on what your design choice is or what you end up deciding to use or go with. I'm also going to go ahead to update the button text, the long button text. There is a possibility that you could use your general text styles for your button text, or you could create a different text style for just button text itself. It's fine both ways as long as it's very usable by people who are designing on the board. So I'm going to also update this button text component down here so that it takes effect on everywhere we use this short button. I'm also going to update the text styles for the input fields. And basically, I want to update all the text styles in all the designs that we've created up to this very moment, so that when we are creating other screens, we could just continue using from this predefined set of text styles. I'm going to speed up this part where I'm going to be updating all the text styles for the current designs we've done so that I won't waste so much of your time. Now I'm done updating the text styles for the current design we have. We can then check our prototype to look at our flow from start to finish. And I think this looks good. Obviously you can make changes to yours depending on what you're trying to achieve. And this video is already getting too long, which is something I don't really like, so I'm just going to cut it right here. And in our next video we are going to be making a few changes to this home screen, and for the most part building other screens of our coffee cafe application. We are going to be working on the bottom navigation bar so that we can easily navigate from one screen to another. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you learned a lot, especially in terms of text styles, how to create them and how to use them in your designs. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that I get notified whenever I post a new video. Bye for now, and I'm going to see you in my next video.